Welcome to Small Biz Life, an interview with Michelle Lowery.
Hmm.
Getting yourself a virtual assistant.
Yay! Do 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 do. I love your new intro, by the way. I have been meaning to say that. It's awesome. I love all
Have you noticed there's a little variations sometimes?
Yes, the
Yeah, there's a
last one was I need a coffee. That was from you, but Eric's in there, and it's
yeah.
awesome. I love it. It
But
keeps
there's like one long one which I don't use very often, and then like each of the different little interruptions. I have like four variations of it now, actually.
it's awesome. It's
Oh, which
fabulous.
reminds me, I should probably unplug the phone.
Yes. Oh, that's a good idea.
That's how we think of these things. We're like, oh yeah, okay, we got to get that done.
There we go.
So I want to start off because I know that we have some people who listen to the podcast who haven't necessarily started. They've kind of thought about becoming a VA, but because it's kind of this all-encompassing term. So I'd love you to talk a little bit about why you became a VA.
I became a VA because I wanted to work for myself. I had, prior to becoming a VA, I was in healthcare. I worked in the eye care industry for 13 years, which I loved. And one of the things I loved about it was working with people and helping them, learn how to wear contacts or, whatever I was doing. But things changed in the industry, and I wanted to live my life the way I wanted to live it. I wanted to work from home. I wanted to have my own business, but I still wanted to be able to help people. And this was in the fall of 2016. And so I started looking online, and I'd heard the term virtual assistant before, but I always thought, just like an online secretary. And I think that's what everybody kind of thinks of at first. But then I started looking into it, and I found the CYLL group that was run at the time by Julie Stoyan and Madeline Cork. And it was sort of like, oh my gosh, this is everything. They had trainings and how to and mindset and everything. And it was like, it fell in my lap, and I said, this is it. This is how I can do this. So it was kind of nice that technology available that at the time and now was there for me to be able to live my life the way I wanted to. So I dove in head first, as I usually do things, and embraced it. And then 17, I left my full-time job and started, officially working as a virtual assistant.
Oh, that is so awesome.
Yeah, it was
and I know
great.
Jeff and I we're both in CYLL because we are in the Digital Insiders. We're in Julie's big mastermind group. And when you buy that, you get access to like everything she's ever done.
Oh,
Let's
And
talk
so
about the
good.
library of content.
Holy moly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But we will put a link to the CYLL group into some of Julie's other content, because if this is something that you're thinking about doing yourself, her digital gangsta group and the
Yes.
CYLL group is such an amazing educational experience. So if this is something you're kind of thinking about doing, you've got some of these skills.
Mhm.
And we're going to talk more specifically about what
Yep.
Michelle does for people, but that would be a great way for you to start.
For sure. I would say anybody wanting to start, get involved with some Facebook groups. That's a great way to just get feedback from people and kind of figure out, because at the beginning it was like, I know nothing. And it was nice to be able to reach out to people and get support that way and just have an education system in place. So,
Well, the interesting thing is there's so many skills in demand. I think that's, one of the complicated things with a VA is, some VAs I know focus on running webinars for people. Some VAs actually, I think, act as a secretary for people.
Yeah.
Some VAs kind of cover the gambit, focus on websites and maintaining websites. I mean, it's kind of across the spectrum. It's really huge.
Oh my gosh, totally. I mean, for everything that you do online, you're going to be able to find a VA who does it, who can help you with it. It's kind of amazing. Yeah, for sure.
And I just want to step in here for Teresa. You saw that one too, Kristin?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so CYLL is a group called Create Your Laptop Life. And it is, you can search for it right on Facebook or the internet. You'll find it relatively easy. That is a way to help people. It's focused largely on digital marketing, but pretty much there's a wide range of skills and abilities to get jobs through there. And then also there is VA, which is just a virtual assistant. So I think that's all the acronyms we've said so far.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And there's a group, the VA Classroom. They have courses on tons of stuff. I mean, this is a great thing about where we are with technology these days. Like, for anything you want to learn, you can find a course online and learn your skill. It's everything is at our fingertips, and it's awesome. And you never have to leave the house, which is I love. So
you add like Teapot and Instacart on top of that with Amazon, and you could like never leave ever.
Oh my gosh. Every time you talk about how you order your groceries online, I just drool, because I live in Maine and there's places where you can, we've got the Hannaford to shop at, buddy. And we, can go over there, and they do have, you can place your order online and then pick it up at Cartside, which is cool. But they don't have the delivery yet. And the day that happens, I'm going to eat with tears of joy, because I just won't even be able to deal. So, yeah.
Now I have to ask this of all New Englanders: are you a Dunkin' Donuts fiend?
I am a Dunkin' Donuts fiend, but I have to say, this is kind of sacrilege. I'm drinking out of an Aroma Joe's cup now.
Oh, wow.
How dare
What's next, Tim Horton? I mean, come on.
I know. There are a few Tim Hortons around. Aroma Joe's is spreading out, but Dunkin' Donuts is the way to go.
That's so awesome. So we were talking a little bit about all the different things that a virtual assistant can do. So Can you talk a little bit about the types of things that you do for your clients?
Me specifically, I really like the admin side of things, like the dotting the I's and the crossing the T's. And like I said before, I have a lot of customer service background. Before being in healthcare, I was in retail management for 1,000 years, because I'm 1,000 years old. But
wow, you look great.
Thank you. It's the healthy living. But so yeah, I have, customer service. I like working with people. So that's really one of the things I offer. I handle any, if somebody has a membership site and they have people, their customers or clients that email them, hey, I can't log in. What do I do? Can you tell me more about your program? Any of that stuff, I can handle those questions. Obviously, I need to know the voice of my client, and I need to know how they want me to respond. But once I understand that, then I'm able to take the ball and run with it. I do blog post formatting. So if they have a blog post that they've either written or have kind of outlined, I also do some content creation a little bit, so I can help them with their blog posts or blog post graphics, get it scheduled, put it up in WordPress, get it out there, do their social media graphics, social media. I wouldn't call myself a social media manager per se, but I definitely do social media interactions and engagement and graphics and posting and scheduling. A lot of the time, I tend to focus on the stuff that takes people a lot of time that they can get bogged down in. So basically anything that's going to like chain them to the chair and not allow them to really soar with what they really want to do, give me that stuff. I'll take care of the back end stuff. You focus on your things that are going to be income producing activities. You do the big stuff. I'll do the back end stuff. Let's make it happen.
And that's the thing. Is like, I think so many business owners, when I talk to them and they say, well, I can't make that course. I can't make that next product. I can't do that next thing. It's going to take us, revenue wise to the next level, because I'm doing all this administrative crap.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And it's
exactly.
Like, you've got to stop doing that stuff.
Yeah. And it's easy to drown in that stuff. It's, and some people, we kind of talked about this a little bit before. Some people just want to do everything themselves. They want to not give over control. And that's like step one in working with the VA, is admit that you have a problem, admit that, admit that you have a pile of stuff that's never going to get done and you're just going to stay stuck. And it's okay to get help with that. It's okay to say, please take this over. And it may be stressful at first, but once you let go of those tasks that are just bogging you down, the freedom that you're going to feel is going to be amazing. And you're going to have so much more time to focus on, actually getting your course created, or, doing the Facebook Lives that are going to draw people to you to take your course that you're creating, or, whatever it is.
That's so awesome. That sounds lovely. I really like that.
Yes.
Like, oh, I need this so badly. I do. And that's one of the things is, going to, I think I posted about this a little bit and I've talked about it in our HQ group. I sent them a big email this weekend of like all the stuff that, the key takeaways I had from being at Julie's mastermind. But in case, in case you haven't seen any of my stuff yet. So over the weekend, Jeff and I were at a 45-person high level mastermind with Julie Stoyan, basically just working on our businesses, because so many times we're working in our businesses and we're working on our businesses, and it was just awesome. And one of the big takeaways that Jeff and I left with was that we can't do everything. And part of that is because we just don't have the time to do it, but part of it is we're not good at all of it. We're not good at copywriting. We're not good at the intricacies of building a beautiful funnel.
We understand the strategies, just not the details of.
We're not artists. We're just not.
Well,
you know what's supposed to happen, but actually making it happen. And then you get stuck, you're thinking, well, I need to do this, but then it's like, well, what do I do first? How do I do that? It looks crappy. I want to change it. And then you tear it all down and start again. And 2 days have passed, and then 2 weeks have passed, and you're nowhere further ahead. It's crazy. It's chaos.
And it's funny because, one of our HQ members and my friend Aurora, we have products that are actually sitting on the shelf that we are not selling because we can't write the sales copy for it. And she's just like, could you get it out? Could you get it out? Could you get it out? And I'm like, yeah.
And there are so many, and that's the thing, there's so many great copywriters out there, or conversion copywriters who specialize in writing that sales page and are going to get you the results. And it's all a matter of just putting it out there and asking for somebody to help you and being willing to pay for it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So I think you talked about this a little bit, but what's the biggest hurdle to having a successful relationship with a client?
I think the biggest, and I did touch on it, the biggest challenge I think is, number one, the person who is hiring the VA needs to be emotionally ready. Like, okay, I'm willing to hand over the reins to this person. I'm willing to have help with this. And that's huge. I am a control freak from way back. So I get the struggle. I get I have to do everything. I'm going to do it all. It's only going to be right if I do it. And that's a hard thing to get over. So, you want to make sure when you're hiring a VA that you have to, talk to them. If it takes more than one discovery call, that's okay. Ask your friends, hey, do you work with somebody? It's kind of a process to get there, but once you get there, it's sort of like the whole world opens up to you.
Yeah, I like that. That's awesome. So I think I want to address like a couple concerns that people might have.
Okay.
So when clients hire you, are they hiring you on a project basis, or they have you kind of like hours per week? How does that work?
For every VA you talk to, you're going to get a different answer. Some people, me personally, just because of the stuff I do, tends to be like an hourly. I'm just doing, your admin, your customer service, so it's an ongoing basis. But certainly, like for you guys, if you need a sales page done, you're going to hire somebody to do a sales page, and that's your project. Or I need a landing page done. Boom, you're going to hire somebody to do the landing page. Or boom, I want to get my podcast up and running. You're going to, you know what I mean? So depending on what you need is going to depend on what you get.
And do you have a minimum number of hours per week that somebody has to hire you for?
I personally don't, because I feel like if somebody needs help and they only need a couple of hours, that's okay. I have time in my schedule to do that. Other people, require some VAs do require a minimum. I personally don't.
Because I think that's one thing is like, I think, especially like when we started looking at this, there are some VAs out there that are like, you need to buy, 50 hours a month.
Right.
And I was like, I don't know if we can fill 50 hours a month. Like,
Right.
I don't know, so I like the fact that you're a little bit more, flexible with that, because I think especially if people want to dip their toes in the water,
Yes.
being able to buy like, 2 or 3 hours a week is much easier than saying, I'm going to buy 40 hours over the course of a month.
Exactly. It can be scary, and you don't know how it's going to go or what's going to work. So I think communication is the key. Like for me, when I start working with somebody, I always have 1,000 questions because I want to know how they want things done and how they choose to do things. And some clients that I have are super organized. They have their templates of how to do a task. And so all I have to do is follow the rules and do it and get it done. And it's great. Other people need a little more help. They know they need help with X, Y, or Z, but they don't even know how to do that. And so we kind of figure it out together. And it's communication, staying open, and just not being afraid to ask 1,000 questions. Sometimes I feel like, really, I'm going to ask them the 10th question of this hour, but I'd rather ask the question ahead of time and get it done properly than not ask and guess and have the end result be, a nightmare.
Yeah, no, I like that better because I think sometimes, you invest in, you start investing in this process and you get a work product that is not what you expected because the person you're working with didn't ask you questions.
Right.
And I think it's so much better to just be upfront and get clarity than, to spend all the time and then go, oh, well, you're out of hours now because I've used them all,
Right.
I think
It
it's so much
definitely, be upfront, ask questions, check in. Some clients I have a weekly call with just so we know, where we're at and what we're doing. And I love that, because even though I'm at home and I'm kind of a hermit, I do like to talk to people and it's fun. So, I like a weekly call and that just keeps us on track. So, I'd say communication and emotional readiness are the big challenges.
Yeah, that's
They
okay.
don't
That's
have
awesome.
to be challenges. It's just sort
Right.
of knowing.
Yeah, I just thought of a great opt-in for you.
Oh, good. Please, I'll take it. That's
We'll tell you at the end of the call because I want to get
Ooh,
yours.
perfect. Thank you. I
Um,
appreciate that.
you're welcome. So, how do you handle access to client accounts? Because I know a lot of times people are concerned about giving out their passwords and
As they should be.
as they
As
should
they
be.
should be, right? ABC 123 on every single website. I'm having a heart attack just thinking about it. I am a big proponent of LastPass, and I even wrote a blog post with a nice little opt-in. For those who don't know, LastPass is a password manager. It stores your passwords. It can generate strong and secure passwords for you, and you can also share access to your websites with other people without them being able to see the password. And I love this. It's just, and I mean, I'm honest and I take the moral high ground and all that good stuff, but you just don't know in this day and age, and you just want to have security as much as you can. The world is a crazy place. So what I love about LastPass is I could give you a password for my Facebook site, and you could go in and do whatever, but you're not going to see the password, so you can't go in 2 days later and then start messing with my page. So there are other password managers out there, but I just love LastPass because you can also install the browser extension in whatever browser you use, and that will just, anytime you're on a site that has your LastPass, that it knows that you have a LastPass password stored. So it'll just pop up. All you have to do is click a button. It saves so much time. You're not sitting there looking through your notebook or what is this password or, it just takes all the chaos. And really that's what I'm about, just chaos. And I think that's one.
And if you ever get a new phone, it saves you so much time. The number of passwords you have to remember is much smaller.
You don't have to go through reset your password, confirm the email, all of that nonsense.
It's
shall we
awesome.
say? Yeah.
So awesome.
Yes.
Well, that's a great answer, and I'm so glad you gave that answer because
as long as it's any password manager, I don't really care. But
yes,
we use LastPass as well too, so we think
it's just so easy, and it's such a time saver, and you don't have to do anything except click a button. Like I'm all about taking, and I've said this before, I think on one of your other things, like I'm lazy. If I can pay with PayPal and not have to get up and go get my wallet where my credit card is, you had mentioned that in a previous thing, like I'm just going to go to PayPal and just click buttons so I don't have to move. So with LastPass, it's just boom, I don't have to move. I click a button and I'm in, and I can start the work.
I absolutely love it.
Yes.
So can you talk a little bit about how clients assign work to you? What does that process look like?
Usually, email is hard because it can get lost in the thousands of email. Although I will say I'm a big proponent of inbox zero, so that shouldn't ever be a problem, but sometimes life happens. For me, I love any of the task managers. Asana is a great one that's in a list format. Nothing feels so good as just crossing something off a list or checking something off a list. It's so good. Trello is also good. We use that. Anything like that, some kind of system where everybody can see it, everybody's on the same page. The client can assign me the task and put the due date, and that way I know. That way if we don't have weekly meetings or check-ins or whatever, I know exactly what I need to do.
That's awesome. I love that. It's a great use of Trello.
Yeah,
I love
it's
that.
cool. It's cool. It took, I'm mentally more of a one then the next and then the next. So getting used to Trello going across was a little bit for my brain to handle. But once I got on board with it, it's cool.
And I like Trello for that too, because you create your checklist by columns and just move stuff across.
Yes, exactly.
And it's cool too, because you can see like what's in progress, what's, like I could imagine, working with somebody and being able to go in and see the on hold column and see like, is there anything that I need to fix in here or do so that, you can keep moving.
Yeah. Or, have a questions column like, okay, I want to do this, but I don't know about this. And that way either I or my client can go in and say, okay, oh shoot, you need this. Okay, here's your information. And then the ball keeps rolling.
Oh, that's so awesome. I love that. That's great. So what should people look for when they're hiring a virtual assistant? And are there any like warning signs people should be aware of to kind of say, okay, I'm going to stay away?
I think people should look for somebody that they resonate with. If somebody is, and I feel like did you guys just talk about this on a podcast? I feel like I just heard this, and maybe it was in my own mind. I'm not sure. You should work with somebody that resonates with you, that you actually like working with,
that you like and trust.
Yes, and you've got to
people they like and trust.
I'm such a big fan of trust your gut. Even if the person seems great, but you just have a weird feeling about it, you've got to listen to that and kind of explore that. I think number one, if you're hiring a new VA, a great place to start, ask your friends in the online space, hey, does anybody have a VA to recommend? One of my clients recommended me to somebody else, and she's great, and I love her. I love all my clients, so I feel really lucky. But where was I going with this? You have to look out for anything, if they're just like, oh yeah, I can do this and I can do that. If they seem too salesy or if something seems off, just listen to that and, maybe get referrals from other clients. Certainly you wouldn't necessarily get, like if somebody asked me for a testimonial from another client, I wouldn't just, sure, here you go, here's their email address, contact them right away. I would speak to client A and say,
Yeah.
I'm potentially going to work with client B. She'd like to know a little bit more about our experience. What do you think about that? You know what I mean? Again, it's communication and having a good relationship. So that really is the key. Just trusting the person you're working with, having good communication with them, and liking them. I think that's huge. Why do you want to work with somebody that sucks, you know, that you don't like?
And I would say that, like from kind of like the accounting perspective, right? So, you know, I agree with you that I don't think that you should work with somebody that like says they do everything. Unless they have an agency and they have other people who work with them. But if you're working with like a one person shop and they say, oh, I can do everything from answering your emails to building your funnels, that worries me a little bit from an accounting perspective. I think you're going to be overpaying for something, or the person does not have the higher tech experience that they should.
Right.
So you've got to be really careful with that. And then you want to make sure that this person is giving you a contract, that you've got terms.
Yes.
You know, so, you know, how do you initiate exiting the agreement? How long is the agreement for? What are the rates? Are there different rates for different tasks? You know, make sure that that is in there and that both parties sign that agreement.
Yes, exactly. 100% agree.
Because I know a lot of times when I talk to people, like, I hired this person and now I want to get out of it and I don't know how. And I'm like, well, if you had a contract, the contract would tell you how. Is it 30 days? Is it, you know,
exactly.
And that's key to, you know, if you're having somebody build you a funnel, write copy, any sort of relationship with another party, you want to have some sort of contract in place. And it's the provider of the service that should handle the contract. If not, if you're the one that's providing all the contracts, you probably have employee relationships and not subcontractors.
Exactly. The person that your VA should be the one to give you the contract. And before that, though, you should already have had your discovery call, talked about what you're going to do, and just kind of see if you jive. And then, if so, then the VA should send you a proposal and say, here's what we talked about, here's what I'm going to work on, da 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 da. And then if you say, yes, that's great, then they send you a contract with all the terms. Here's when we're starting, here's when we're finishing if it's a project, here's what it includes, these are the rates, these are when you're going to pay, this is how you get out of it, da da da. You know, and you sign it and they sign it, and life is good and work can get started.
So what is the one thing, this will be the last question, what is the one thing that you wish people knew when they were going into the process? Like when they get on that discovery call, what's that one thing that like you always have to answer this question because people don't know?
I think, I don't know if they ask this, but I think one thing that sometimes people don't think about is VAs are business owners in our own right. And it's not, we're not some grunt on the side that we're just going to, you know, do your bidding. We're also trying to run a business, and our business is to support your business. So I think if people go into it, not legally as a partnership, but mentally, like, this is somebody who's going to help me in my business, and have it more of a peer relationship rather than owner and underling. You know what I mean?
That. Yeah.
I think that's something that sometimes people can miss.
No, I think that's great. And I think if, you know, and I think along those lines, like establishing realistic expectations. So if I send you a task, what is the turnaround time going to be? Because like I've heard nightmare stories from virtual assistants where they've been like, the person just thinks like I'm there waiting for their tasks to roll in.
Right. And that's part of the onboarding process that I kind of talked about a little bit. I kind of jumped the question, but part of, you know, when you send the contract and you get signed, one thing that I always like to send people is a how I work document. So it tells them the best way to get in touch with me. These are my hours. I never work on Sundays. So if you're expecting something that day, I'm not going to just drop everything. You know, just again, it all comes down to clear communication. This is what you can expect of me. This is how you can reach me. These are the tools that I use. This is, if you have a quick question, we can make a Slack channel, or, just whatever it is. Everything is there in black and white ahead of time, so there are no surprises. But if a surprise does come up, addressing it right away rather than stewing on it for 2 months and then, having a explosion. A conniption. Yes, exactly. Just address it right away. As uncomfortable as that might be, just do it.
No, that's a great answer. I think, being proactive, and especially too, like if the two parties are not meeting each other's expectations, you have to address that right away, because otherwise it does the stews and it festers, and it's not good. When
one person it may not be a malicious intent. It just might be, they just don't know. They don't know. So you've got to just say it.
Communication is so important, whether it's whether you're hiring a subcontractor, whether it's employees. I see this a lot with different clients I work with. So I think that is awesome. So Michelle, if somebody wants to work with you, how do they connect with you?
They can find me online at michelleloweryva.com. There's another Michelle Lowery who is awesome, and she's an editor and an SEO expert, but that's not me. I'm Michelle Lowery VA, and I do my stuff. I also started just doing strategy calls for those people out there who are have a lot of ideas but kind of feel stuck and just want to get some clarity. I've started doing that a little bit, so that's been fun.
So to help them organize to figure out what they do need to move forward.
Exactly. Maybe they're not ready to get a VA, but they just want to sort out the mess of the 1,000 ideas that are in their head, and they've been paralyzed because they can't see beyond all these things they want to do. Like, let's cut the crap out of your business. That's why one of the reasons why I resonate with you guys so much. Like, yes, cut the crap out, get rid of it. Let's figure out what you can do. So yes, Michelle with 2 L's, LoweryVA.com. That's where you can reach.
Awesome. And if you guys have any questions for Michelle, if you're watching on the Facebook Live, you can leave the comments there. You can reach out to her via her website. We'd love, I love your spirit. I love how excited you are about what you do. You're super passionate about it. And I love that.
I have to say, I love you guys. And I just want to say, if anybody is not in Small Biz HQ, but you're thinking about it, I urge you to do it, because Jeffrey and Kristin are so awesome. I learned of you in the CYLL group. Like, I think it was last July. You did a conversation about business in the CYLL group, Kristin, and you were just talking about taxes and this, and I was like, oh my gosh, just the way you delivered it, I was like, okay, I'm going to learn things from this woman. And then you mentioned that you had the podcast, so I immediately subscribed to the podcast and just obsessively listened to it nonstop. And then I went into my accountant for the first time, like not knowing anything except what I learned from your podcast. He was like, wow, you're very prepared. And I was like, thank you, Kristin and Jeffrey. And then when I got home from that appointment, I had an email about Small Biz HQ in my inbox. Wow. And I'm like, heck yes, I'm joining. I'm not going to. So it's just sort of like, I love it. And you guys have been my podcast BFFs for over years. So for this happening right now, I'm pinching myself. I can't even.
Oh, thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
We love having you in the group. And it is, it's funny because the HQ group is just this amazing group of business owners like Michelle.
Yeah, just people like Michelle,
who are just like, but the thing is, like, they're so helpful, and they're so like, I mean, everybody celebrates when a new member comes in, everybody celebrates each other's wins. When people have like a really, crappy day or crappy experience, they can post in there, they'll get feedback, they'll get virtual hugs. Like, it's just one of those groups you're just like, I love these people.
I look forward to the group every day, and I love that you hold us accountable. You not only check in and say, hey, what's on your docket today, you check in with us at the end of the day. So if I put, I'm going to work on my website and finish this, I know Jeffrey's going to come in at the end of the day and say, how'd your website go? And it's like, oh crap, if I'm going to put this on here, I better have this done by the end of the day. I can't sit in front of TV and binge watch Breaking Bad or whatever. I have to actually do the work. So it's just an awesome group of people. Everybody is so great, and it's just a nice way to be held accountable.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much.
That's
Oh,
awesome.
my pleasure.
So, and if you're watching on Facebook, Jeffrey's putting all the links in as we're talking about them. So there's a link to Michelle's website. There's a link to HQ. There's a link for Trello. LastPass, we put in CYLL Network. So all the links are in there. They'll also be in the show notes. You can go to smallbiz.life/139 and you'll get all of the show notes there. So thank you so much for joining us. And we will see you next time.
With one caveat that the show notes will not be available until the show goes live officially next Sunday.
Right, exactly.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much.
Bye, everybody.
Okay. Okay, so it's not. Yeah, it's not.
We're not done.
There's
This
just a delay.
was awesome.
Oh, awesome.